expressions and our cultural things, whether it's our language and how we eat and so on, and we should stand up for those, and we should actually cherish them and be proud of them, because actually that's why people come and visit. Because they want to, I want to go to Italy because I want to eat Italian food. I'm not going to go to Italy because I want to eat American food. It's like, it's like, I like it when people cherish their things. So I think that is the solution. And to the invasion side, I mean, how do we solve that? And this morning we had a bit about like that there is a capacity issue, that there got to be limits, and we have to be, we cannot have free flow. We got to have some planned economy. We got to stick to that. We can't have full free flow yet because the city isn't ready for that, because there's too much of a gap in values and so on. So that's fair as a conclusion, and I think that a lot of people agree that we cannot just open the borders and then we're happy that we have a mechanism to plan. So that's then two solutions for your problems that you identify. But how else do we deal with the mainland, the invasion sentiment? It's out there with people.
I think
you can't deny it.
Does anyone want to make some comment?
Oh yeah, we have so challenging topic, of course, I'm jumping in.
Okay.
Well, you remember when I talked this morning, I showed you this one, okay? Yeah. I said, you either use iPhone or Android phone. So actually, two company dominance. And this is the happening of the economy worldwide today. For example, for food chain, I enjoy McDonald's and KFC and blah, 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 right? And there's a China food fast food shop in China starting. So it means today, the basic economic structure worldwide is rich people, tycoons, financial corporations earn more. And we can see, I don't have statistics, but definitely everyone agree with me that more people working for chain stores now compared with 20 years ago. Either fashion chain store, whatsoever chain store. I mean, and a lot of the chain shops are international chain shops. For example, you can have Watson's elsewhere in Asia. Every city I went, I saw Watson's. It's Hong Kong company, right? So if you look from a position of a small shop in Shanghai or even in Singapore, he will challenge this Hong Kong shop is invading myself. Because they see, that is, of course everyone knows, branded as an American shop, right? So what we kind of want today is a global economy, the economic structure, and the daily living is in that style. And it makes people, I mean, small individuals, small towns, or today the economy is not boom, right? It's always ups and downs, is struggling. So this is the reality, and it's back to branders, like this lady. Also, it's back to brand this Guai Lou. Sorry, but Guai Lou this time is not really bad. I mean, it's like, yeah. So we
prefer to be called Guai Lou.
Yeah. Some my Guai Lou friends.
Yeah.
No, it's true.
Also, I have a lot of Guai Lou friends.
Yeah.
And Indian friends. So Hong Kong should position, and actually our benefit is we position ourselves as an international hub in China. And if we say we are international hubs, I have a Chinese lady, I have an Indian lady, right hand side is good. And but I do echo with that university girl. She mentioned a lot the education methods. Yeah, I'm not saying patriotic education, but the education that to promote or to cultivate a multi-races and more diversified Hong Kong, and we don't have that. For example, if you go to Singapore, you can see in Little India, you see the Indian name. If you go to Chinatown, you see Chinatown, China name, Chinese, or the name plate, or the street plate. But in Hong Kong, it's very rigid. I mean, our government do not particularly take care of that. For example, in that case, for example, Jim Sha somewhere, maybe you need to put some Indian street names over there, because there are quite some significant Indian and Pakistan friends and people there. So I do see we need to have some initiative to, on one side, dialogue with Beijing, of course, and on the other side, to dialogue with different people in Hong Kong to cultivate a real Hong Kong call ourselves international, but actually it's not. To my, maybe I don't know the panels. President.
You are a planner, so.
Yeah, but you are president of our association. Yeah, Hong Kong is
what
not.
You're saying is
We are not good internationalized. No, we are very Hong Kongese.
Okay, I reserve my comment. Eldon, you can't be just typing away. We need to hear from you.
If you're typing too much, you can't take it.
I can help you type.
What do we? Oh yeah. Okay.
You put him on the spot, Eunice.
I have
It's
to.
working.
That's okay.
Hey, I can't. Give me some time and think.
Oh, we'll see you, and then we'll do next
Try
one.
This is the
We need to hear from
We
you.
didn't eat anything, right?
No, we haven't heard from you. You?
Yeah.
Yes.
For me, I am thinking something about communication because I think communication is two-way, right? I say something and you respond. The problem in Hong Kong is the communication is not a real one. Like we suggest something and we propose something to our government, but it doesn't really respond to it. So I think even some consultation in the district, it is not a real act, but just pretending I'm listening to the local citizen. But finally, what government proposed may not be what we want. So I think, is there anything to do to improve this thing? Yeah, I'm thinking of this.
So improve communication between government and the citizen.
Real communication.
Real communication. What you're thinking is that the government right now is not listening.
Yes.
They're not. They hear, but they don't listen.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
They think they're listening though.
They claim they're listening.
They
but
All
they
the
don't.
time.
Right. Okay.
Then they make the decision and then they explain the decision. They've already made it.
But I thought that's always been how government operates. Eldon, have you got time to think?
Alone. No, actually, I was thinking about what she said. Regarding that, it's like I think government is like a, they use a top-down management approach. Like what we said is because what they think is they are a professional. You are not, and you should not challenge me for.
They're not professionals.
No, they think they are professional because they're sitting in that position. They're elites.
They're
That's what
bureaucrats
they think.
anyway.
Well, the Chin Chow Shore waterfront is a clear example of exactly
Yeah.
what.
Yeah, they're bureaucrats. Yeah. Okay, so we need to change the mentality of bureaucrats.
I think transparency and
Transparency.
framework is
Okay.
quite an important thing.
Okay.
So would you suggest things like focus groups and things like, I'm just interested in I really like the idea that you think there should be increased dialogue and hearing and feeling that that's a two-way conversation. Do you have any ideas as to how that, so are you talking about focus groups more generally? Yeah.
Yeah, like in UK they do have neighborhood planning, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So actually that idea is pretty good because they actually propose, the neighborhood propose what they really want to, what they want, right? So they can apply through local authorities, national authorities, regional authorities to get that done. So, and they even get funding from national government. So I think in some way is a fair, we can think about that idea, but not mean implementing exactly the same idea because the context is different.
Is it because our district council is not functioning as a district council? It's just a consultation.
District council.
To be honest, because
I won't touch it.
you don't have the power to say build something or do something good, or you just
Yes, Paul.
listening to
We're doing everything
Well, I can send you all a copy of my paper on how district councils can function better. And one of them, and I will not spend much time because we are out of time on this one anyway. But yeah, I mean, there is a big thing about how district councils can function better. And one thing is exactly to do as Elder suggests. Then you do the district council responsible for putting district plans together. And the district plans can be administrative. They don't have to be statutory plans, like because you don't have to fight with the town planning board. But at least to have your town hall meetings, collect all the data from all the different government departments onto one plan and discuss it continuously with the community. They've done it for Kowloon City for the urban for the DERF project. They've done it, so government has done at times the right thing. For Kai Tak, there was some weak community up playing, but there is no community living there. So it's a very different thing. But for the plan making for Wan Chai, there was the community planning bottom up for the waterfront, although it was very much dominated by the question road or no road. But so we've done it, and then we all go back to do Chin Cha Choi, where government sits there negotiating with the developer until they've worked out all the details and they dare to go public. And the public says, excuse me, why do you ask me? And they had just failed to go to the community first and say, guys, what do you want on the waterfront? And then negotiate with the developer. And they just do it the wrong way around. So they know how to, but they fall back to the old rhythm of, I know what to do. As Louis Moon says, I know what I'm doing.
Okay. Just on top of what you're saying regarding city planning, let's say, because the government or, I don't know, like, the developer are thinking about developing the tram system or like get rid of it. So it's quite a sensitive topic here. And as a citizen, you have the right to express what you think about it. But instead of how your view is actually transferring into actions is still very difficult. You know where I'm going to, right? And I wonder, is there anything to do in regard of something this is quite urgent, and is it an opportunity to open up dialogue even? Just
I think district planning is something, but we're doing Q&A now.
Yeah.
But
everyone else.
I can send you my paper and it's not difficult to do.
Yeah, no, it's just something probably in my mind.
Yeah, no, I'm happy to show you the paper, but it's not difficult to implement good district planning through the district councils.
Yeah.
The government doesn't want to go there because they think district councillors are very, not in my neighborhood, and they are. But if you give them the right tools, they don't have to be. So it's chicken and egg. But the government doesn't want to go there because if you give them more power, then the transport department will lose their power. So.
But anyway, being as a planner, I think if you want to talk about city planning, we'll talk about later. But I think today we are mainly.
But let's just make a general conclusion. Better
no,
town hall neighborhood planning.
Yeah, just send you and her. And the lady, I think this lady.
Guys, I need to declare I haven't been in Hong Kong for the last 10 years. I was born in Hong Kong, but then I migrated to Australia. And I used to work as a mentor for a few universities in Australia. Most of my clients, mainly Chinese or some local Australian. Why I mention these things, I just want to narrow down my focus here. What I normally mention or introduce Hong Kong, even the other day I went to a seminar in Hong Kong, run by Hong Kong Trade Development Council and HKPC. The successful story they sell to me is still octopus. My goodness, it's actually, you guys know what I'm talking about. So as a Hong Kong Chinese, first, I really doubt, and my big concern is about the big Hong Kong ideology. I don't buy the house that says certain things, and sorry for that. And I always say, go back to some previous discussion mentioned the simplified Chinese or traditional Chinese. For me, I can manage both because Hong Kong Chinese should be flexible enough to be the bridge between the West and the East. That's how I see the opportunity for us as a Hong Kong Chinese. So, in particular for those younger generations, you guys to fill the gap, that's your duty. That is your calling. I mean, but I feel so frustrated somehow, to be honest. First, unfortunately, the reality we face in Hong Kong at the moment is still the highland price. So if you look at Macau, because in China, as we all know, it's one party driven. So you need to know from Hong Kong side, you need to know better prepare yourself how it functions in China. For example, if you look at Macau, Macau got limited land because they are so cooperative with the mainland government. The government just innovatively changed just over Macau additional land. So actually it drive the land price a bit down. So would it work for Hong Kong? That would possibly, yes, I would say. And the other thing is get to the education things. I mean, regarding the ideology, that's a really debatable topic. I don't want to really discuss it here, but I doubt if we don't solve the Highland Pride policy and ideology, that kind of issue, would it drive Hong Kong's future to an end in the near future? That's my concern.
All right,
So you suggest the Highland price policy needs to be addressed?
government intervention.
Well, I mean, back to the example you mentioned, say, if you look at New York, London, or Sydney, if you can't afford to live in CBD area, as long as the infrastructure setting is well developed, you can live, say, back to Zhuhai. Why can't we stay in Zhuhai? The reason why, as I mentioned in the beginning, I will teach in Suzhou, because I don't really see the opportunity. So,
okay. All right. I'm sure a gentleman hasn't spoken and the lady was going to comment.
You gotta,
right? But we have 5 minutes to wrap
Okay,
things up.
I've spoken before, but should I just go? Okay. I just wanted to mention some things which I thought perhaps people could be doing now to try and achieve what we talked about earlier. And you may tell me that that's happening already, but I thought one thing was actually just at a university level, maybe at a school level, maybe even hospitals, to try and build partnerships with other cities, so other universities and other cities. And I haven't noticed that there are these strong links, like even a conference today, maybe it could have been with Shenzhen and Guangzhou and have a couple of different universities involved in it. So one, I think, is actually just taking the lead in building those partnerships. And the other was building on this idea of Hong Kong being a gateway, which came up again, a gateway for Western companies to come into China, but also, I think, the other way around, for Chinese companies to interact with the West. I think Hong Kong has a really big role to play, and when you talk about traditional Chinese and simplified Chinese, for Westerners, learning any Chinese is difficult. For you who speak Cantonese and read traditional Chinese, it's easy to learn Mandarin, so you're in a great position. So actually thinking of Hong Kong as in that role and having real opportunities, it feels to me as if more of that can be done. I also had a third one, which is actually just trying to develop a better governance structure, which I think came out on the PRD side of things, on a regional level, because it seems to me that may be feasible, and I know the government's working on with the Guangzhou city on air quality and things like marine emissions. So actually trying to strengthen the regional ways of interacting and making it more public and transparent, maybe a good starting point for people seeing, you know, we can work together, it can be open, it's not horribly undemocratic. So maybe we can work on a regional level to begin that process.
Okay. One last comment from either the person who hasn't spoken. Otherwise, I will give it back to Paul
to take it to the next
section.
Look at my watch here, it's red.
I know, 1 minute.
It's flashing red.
Any other comments? You don't have to, you don't want to. Okay, back to you.
So yeah, so the next session is we have to, does anybody have any on these principles? We've kind of gone, no, I think how to build the city we need. The Ada's question is still there. I mean, is there stuff that we need, I think she's asking, following from this conference, what else we can do? And my suggestion this morning is we've got to do more of this, but so. But if anybody has any specific suggestions, then drop it in, and then maybe you just think about it. But I think we should come up with, after this, are we going to continue the Urban Thinker campuses, and are we going to continue? Is that a good idea? Or are there any other suggestions? If anybody have them, let Eldon know. Type them in, okay? So we'll think about it. Anything off the top of the head? Yeah.
Well, suggestion like, as you said, do more this kind of thing, not just mountain park. us, sort of same frame-mind people, like-minded people, but also extending to other industries, other people sharing and asking their position, opinion, and they take their take and possibly their way to do in the future together, like entrepreneur, developers, because they have the boss in Hong Kong, you know, and politicians and other people that are cultural people, intellectual people, all these industries and put together, try to understand what is the connection, but also what are the borderlines and the limit, the constraint. Because we can perfection everything here, but the limit is there is no crossover. No crossover. There should be many bridges, in my opinion.
I hope we can manipulate that. The cameras don't on. Can we all suggest that the Chinese university is going to do more of this? You know, I think let's all push that, because I agree with you. The only way to take this forward, if we can take this forward, bring in more people, but keep it rolling and not do this next year. Kind of like try to push this forward now.
Initiatives and just
keep it moving.
A little bit each time.
Put some resources in it and keep this moving. That's, we all suggest that to Chinese university.
Especially if you take over the blame over each other, like you are criticizing me because you are telling this. No, it's not because I want to criticize it, because it's my opinion. Right. Today we didn't criticize. Actually, there was very good opinion, very opening to the problem, right? Yes. If you don't talk, no solution.
That's right.
Okay, I would say there was a unanimous proposal from this group.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that I've observed from this discussion around mainland interaction and integration is that it's a really positive environment, it's really constructive, but it does feel rather one-sided. So I think it would be really helpful. It's wonderful that Echo has been here and has been so articulate in voicing her views as someone from the mainland. But I can't help feeling that it's a slightly weighted, that there should be more mainland interaction in these sessions, to have that dialogue, and also to challenge the idea that it's a one-way process, that it should be a two-way process, and that the way that these forums themselves are a mechanism by which we can break down misconceptions and misperceptions of each other, and I think that I just wanted to record that.